Let's get started. President Trump is lowering, and this in and of itself is not actually a medbed style situation. This is real. President Trump announces lower drug price with the help of Pfizer. He's doing like Trump med, not medbed, but Trump med.
Pfizer is committing, as will other drug companies as we go through the weeks. But Pfizer is truly one of the biggest in the world and one of the greatest in the world. Today, Pfizer is committing to offer all of their prescription medications to Medicaid, and it will be at the most favored nation's prices. It's going to have a huge impact on bringing Medicaid costs down like nothing else. I told you that in my first term, I was so proud of the fact that for the first time in 28 years, drug prices came down. And I had a news conference that I explained it was 0.1%, but it was down. And here we're talking about in one case, over 1,000%. This is a critical step forward to our work and to improve health care, and hardworking, low-income Americans, especially low-income Americans, will be helped so greatly. In addition, Pfizer is agreeing to provide...
Trump, give me that Ozempic, King. Get me that Ozempic and TRT, and my life is yours, okay? Cost-free Ozempic, cost-free TRT for all, baby. Medicare for all, HRT for all, TRT for all, Ozempic for all. You know, these are my demands.
Some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%. And that's off.
The fat shot doesn't work. I have a lot of fat friends. Fat. They're fat. They're fat. They take the fat shot and it doesn't take.
That's off the price. And in some cases, even more than that, these drugs will be available for direct purchase online at a website operated by the federal government. We're also announcing that moving forward, all new medications introduced by Pfizer to the American market will be sold at the reduced most favored nation cost. So we'll be paying essentially what other countries are paying, who have been much lower, much lower.
My man, finally, I mean, is he just lying? I don't know the exact details of what this is going to look like. I don't know the exact details of what this is going to look like, obviously. But considering that my policy is Donald Trump is never going to do something right that ends up cutting away at the profit margins of mega corporations, I suspect that there are some catches in this, right? There is 0% chance that he does something good. I'm very, very skeptical. I do not believe that he is going to do good things. I only believe he is capable of doing bad things. You know, maybe you can call me a hater for that, but I am only one guy who is looking at what Donald Trump has done so far and how he moves. And I just don't think that he is even physically capable of shaving away at the bottom line of mega corporations. That's kind of his job. Only bad can happen. Nothing good can happen. Only bad can happen. But yeah, it's direct to consumer. It's basically like Mark Cuban, but with the backing of the administration. He's calling it Trump RX. The White House is planning to unveil a direct consumer website for Americans to buy drugs, dubbed Trump RX, as well as announce that Pfizer plans to lower prices on several of its medications in the U.S. Nothing bad can happen, only good happen. But it can only bad happen. That's the reality. There's a new Pete Kegsbreath expose. Pentagon Pete's manic meltdowns exposed by AIDS. Obviously, we'll talk about that as well. But let's be real. There is a possible shutdown that is imminent. Okay. We are at the precipice of a government shutdown if the Democrats don't cave. There is still a likelihood that the Democrats might cave. Remember, Chuck Schumer, there's always a likelihood that Chuck Schumer will find a way to say, I don't want to fight, Mr. President. I'm so sorry. Thank you for giving money to Israel.
In other countries and $137 in the U.S. And that's coming down now to probably $15 or $18.
You have to check HUD.gov
real
quick.
Up to 18. I think that's pretty much right, Albert. It's not you, but they'll go up to 18 and we'll come down.
This is on the radical left are going to shut down the government and inflict massive pain on the American people unless they get their $1.5 trillion wish list of demands. The Trump administration wants to keep the government open for the American people. Is the shutdown good or bad? There is no world in which the shutdown is good. Obviously, the shutdown is bad. Now, do I believe that the shutdown will be good for the Democrats? It depends. Okay? The shutdown is obviously a crisis, right? You have a lot of workers that are on furlough, and none of the government functions work in the way that they normally do. But is it a necessity in times like this? Is it a weapon wielded by the minority party when the administration is engaging in real time with a crippling of all institutions, sicking the military on the people, and taking away a lot of government-funded healthcare away from regular Americans? Absolutely. So, unfortunately, it must be done, right? This is a weapon that the Democrats have in their arsenal, perhaps the most consequential one, and they should have done it in the past as well. I kept repeatedly saying that they have to do this. They have no other tool, right? For the Democrats, their demands are pretty reasonable, okay? Their demands are pretty reasonable. I think that they could be making even more demands. Like, for example, clawing back some of the ICE funding. Like, demanding that they no longer sic ICE and the American military on the domestic front, and also ensuring that some of the cuts that are going to come for Medicaid do not happen, right? Because the reality of the matter is the big, beautiful bill is going to bring about $800 billion in cuts to Medicaid, right? That's ginormous. That's terrifying for rural hospitals. It's terrifying for Trump's base, ironically enough. And that is one of the demands that the Democrats are making. They want assurances from the Republican Party to not do that. And, of course, the Republicans are literally turning around and lying and saying they have a $1.5 trillion wish list of demands. They want to give everybody transgender. They want to give everybody undocumented migrant. Okay? Because as it stands, in order to avoid a shutdown, to fund the government, they need votes from Democrats. And the Democrats are standing firmly against it. They're saying, we're not going to fund the government unless you listen to some of the reasonable demands we have. Okay? The Republicans, of course, are using this as an opportunity to attack and lie and make shit up, basically, about what the Democrat demands are. They're claiming, as they have done so over and over again, because they've seen this as a very reliable way to galvanize the base, the Democrats are trying to shut the government because they want to give $1.5 trillion to undocumented transgenders. Okay? If you slap transgender and undocumented into your conversation, illegal alien or transgender into your conversation, every Republican seemingly doesn't realize that they're getting robbed blind. Okay? And that's precisely what they're doing. J.D. Vance started doing this already. My fear here is not only is it the appropriate thing for the Democrats to do in order to protect all American citizens right now, because it's the only tool that they have, and make it costly for the administration to continue the shutdown, because, like, at the end of the day, they control everything. They control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House. So obviously, when they have full control over the government, like, people are understandably going to look at this shutdown and look at the chaos that ensues and blame the administrative party for it, right? So you create a pressure point against the federal government, and you force them to listen to the reasonable demands that you're making. The problem is this: when you don't have good communicators that are leading the Democratic Party, when the two leaders of the Democrats is Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, you are not going to be able to guide through the treacherous waters of a government shutdown. And that's what I'm actually worried about. I'm worried that they're going to do the right thing and maybe push for a shutdown. And then instead of using that opportunity to talk about all of the things that this administration is doing so far and what your demands are, they are going to get bullied by a faucet of misinformation coming from the Republican side. Okay? And then they'll somehow find a way to fuck this up as well. What do I this? I mean, yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer went and talked to Donald Trump. They came out and said, it seems like it's the first time Trump has actually heard our demands about, how people are going to lose their health care coverage if this goes through, if this big, beautiful bill goes through, all this stuff, right? Donald Trump came out and said, Hakeem Jeffries is Mexican. And Chuck Schumer wants undocumented illegals to get $1.5 trillion of healthcare with an AI video. That was what his response was. It's a fucking clown show. It's a goddamn clown show. And it doesn't even feel like the media is equipped to tackle this kind of idiotic sentiment expressed by the administration. At least in like 2016, there was this overall attitude that like what Trump was doing was not fit for the station. What Trump was doing was completely inappropriate. And Republicans had a sense of shame, even like those who secretly loved Donald Trump still exhibited a sense of shame that this was, not dignified, right? The way that Trump was presenting himself was not dignified. They would always say, oh, just don't listen to what he has to say. But, listen to what he's doing. What he's doing is good, but what he has to say is kind of stupid. I don't really like it or whatever, right? That's gone now. They don't even do that nowadays. And in some ways, like, I kind of understand, because how can you address respectability politics when no one has a sense of respect for the office? Trump has been able to almost single-handedly completely erode the dignity of the office by weaponizing the bully pulpit and changing the culture dramatically around like what the expectation is from the bully pulpit, what the expectation is from supposed to be from the presidency. This is true. He has done that. He's done that successfully. Plus, there is no mechanism that exists as it stands against a faucet of misinformation that Republicans always love to present in times of breaking news or whenever they want to present a new hysteria that they must combat. Like, left violence is one of the greatest examples of this. Over and over again, we look at the data, and the data shows it's like right-wingers are responsible for the overwhelming majority of fucking violent incidents in this country and domestic acts of domestic terror. And yet these guys keep saying, nah, it's the left. The left is doing violence. The left is doing violence. The left is doing violence over and over again until people are just like, okay, sure, it's the left, I guess. I'm sorry. Please stop.
From 135 or whatever down to 18. I mean, that's a massive number. Remember, I was the one that held a news conference because I lowered drug prices by 1/4%. I think it was 1/8 of 1%, but it was the only one in 28 years that brought drug prices down for the year. But it was a very small number. Now we're talking about, you're going to see one over 1,000%. Look at these numbers. So, and this has a big impact, even on the discussion that we'll have with Chuck Schumer, who was here yesterday, along with a very nice gentleman who I didn't really know. You know who I'm talking about. The two of them came, and we had a good discussion, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. But this has a huge impact on that because these numbers are going to bring Medicaid. We talk about Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. Obamacare is not good. It's there, but relative to other health care programs, it's in the lower 20%. It's not good. And I asked the Democrat representatives, what do you think about coming up with a better health care? This actually allows you to do that because the cost of prescription medicine is a very big, more than 50% the cost of what we're talking about. So we might be able to do something like that. This is one of the biggest news conferences from a medical standpoint that I think has ever been had by any administration. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm curious, where are the other companies other than Pfizer? Are you expecting them to come on later?
They're all with us. And I was honored to have Albert be the first. He's done a fantastic job with, as you know, with the COVID. He did a fantastic job with a lot of things. He's a leader. And
yeah, he also, given that Donald Trump's intention is to just like cripple the federal government anyway, he is also saying that he's going to use the shutdown to further slash the government to begin with. But the problem here is that when they did this with Doge, a lot of people reacted negatively to it. So they had to like literally go back and rehire a bunch of these people. It still actually fucked a bunch of things up. But this is simply a threat. Okay? That's all this is. Will he follow through on it? Maybe. But it doesn't matter. We have to fucking keep up the intensity. We have to keep up the pressure to ensure that they go back on this initial assessment where they try to like fire a bunch of federal government employees. So that's another part of the puzzle as well. It's just like they're fucking up everything. There is an asymmetry when you combat right-wingers. Like there is an ease where there's an ease in which you can destroy something. It takes a lot longer and a lot more effort to build certain things as opposed to breaking them, right? It's so easy for Republicans to just say, like, we're firing everybody. Who gives a shit? Fuck you. The hardest part for the Republican side is to actually destroy things that are defensible, like Social Security. People like that. So they have to take a long time to just like slowly but surely cripple these programs with austerity and then eventually develop resentment towards those programs. It takes years and years to successfully do this, right? But ironically enough, as the White House correspondent for Independent Andrew Feinberg says, White House is begging hundreds of office managers fired by Elon Musk Doge to come back to work. So like I'm saying, like these guys are stupid enough to follow through on this, but I don't think they realize how devastating this is for the regular federal government to work. They need these people, right? They need these people. They need people that are responsible to continue working at these regulatory agencies. Like if you fire mad people from the FDA, for example, because you're just horny to cripple the federal government, you're going to have the inevitable consequences that are very damaging. Like you're no longer going to have confidence in the meat that you're purchasing at the grocery store. Like you can't have that. Okay? You can't have that. That's chaotic. And maybe in the short term, it looks fine. It feels fine. But the impact of such decisions will harm the public so dramatically that it'll be pure chaos. The expectation that companies are not going to take advantage of the lack of regulatory control and then refuse to actually keep the same standard of quality in their produce is ridiculous. Of course, they're going to be like, all right, but FDA is not checking this shit anymore. Who cares? We can offer substandard safety protocols now. And then eventually the public will start getting sick.
Pfizer is right at the top. You know, it's there. Eli Lilly has been fantastic also, my friend. And they're all coming in over the next week.
This is why early on I said the Democrats should be talking about Doge and talking about the importance of these regulatory agencies at a time when there is already an unprecedented crisis of finding appropriate jobs, these guys are cutting some of the remaining relatively safe middle-class jobs that exist. This was a great opportunity for a Democratic Party, a left-flank party, to actually present the dangers of fucking austerity. And they didn't do it. And because they didn't do it for the past 9 months, because they were just quiet about everything, it's quite difficult for them to do it now in the heat of the moment. This is the issue with the crisis that we're facing with bad leadership in the Democratic Party. It is the exact same crisis that we experienced when Brandon was president. If you don't have a decent orator with good rhetoric who can command the attention of the masses and talk about how wonderful the initiatives that they're taking are, then obviously the opposition can bastardize whatever the fuck you're doing, which they did. Or even, in the case of what Donald Trump is doing here, take credit for it. They could take credit for it. Like the insulin price caps. Donald Trump is like, I did that. That's mine. That's my initiative. It's crazy.
Making deals with all of them. And I said, if we don't make a deal, then we're going to tariff them an extra 5, 6, 7, 8%, whatever the difference is, and we'll take it that way. So we took away the advantage by the fact that we have tariffs. We took away the advantage that they would have of just saying no, and we couldn't do anything about it. If they do that, what we do is we'd put a tariff on them of an equivalent amount, and we take it that way. And nobody wants to play that game. So they're going to be, they're all going to be good. We didn't have to mention that to Albert. Well, maybe I whispered it to him very slightly, you know. We had to give ourselves a little bit of an advantage. But no, but the tariffs played a big role because they know that's what's going to happen.
President Trump. You mentioned the tariff, the exemption of the 232s, but can you share a timeline for when we can expect the results of that 232 investigation?
Let Howard answer that question, please.
Sure. So while we're negotiating with these companies, we're going to let them play out and finish these negotiations because they are the most important thing to the American people. So we are standing by, helping and working with them. But the driver of the 232 outcomes is our HHS team because, I mean, look what they've accomplished today. So we are on their side helping them, but that is the model that's going to drive.
And you have to understand, Albert's spending $70 billion that he wouldn't be spending because of the tariffs, let's say, and other reasons. I think he liked the winner of November 5th, in all fairness, but because of the tariffs. And that wouldn't happen. He's not going to pay any tariffs because when he moves here, there are no tariffs. So he won't be paying tariffs. That's the beauty of it. If you move here, there are no tariffs. And we have...
I don't know what the fuck RFK is doing here, bro. I don't know what's going on with his blazer. I don't know why he has his one hand inside of his blazer like he's a Vladimir Putin security guard or something.
Over $17 trillion, Albert. You believe these numbers? So Biden had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We have over $17 trillion for essentially 8 months. Pretty amazing.
When will prices come down, Mr. President? When can America?
They're going to start coming down. Drug prices? Well, they'll be starting immediately. Yeah.
Mr. President, can you speak to what impact you think this reduction in drug prices will have on midterms coming up?
I think it's going to have a huge... I said, if we can pull this off before midterms, I've wanted to do it from the beginning, from my first day in first term. And we were doing so well. We had the greatest economy we've ever had. Everything was good. And then we're ready to do this, which is complex and big. It's a big change. But what happened is COVID came, and we focused on COVID. We focused on COVID very hard with Albert, with the other companies, with everybody. Regeneron was a great thing. You know, we did a lot of therapeutics that were fantastic. And so we focused on that. And I said, if I pull this off again, the first thing I'm going to do, and you know, we've been working on this for 8 months. This is a very big deal. This is a big shock to the system. But it's not as much as I said. They're going to go up. The world is going to go up a little bit. We're going to come down a lot. But now it's fair. We're going to be paying the same thing. Yeah.
President Trump, in your first term, when you cut the price of insulin, Biden later came in. He tried to steal credit for that. Do you think that? Do you worry that the Democrats are going to try to steal credit for these historic cuts?
I really appreciate your question because I did. I cut the price of insulin down to $35.
Very good question. You seem like a dapper young lad with a wonderful career ahead of you. What is the question, bro? That's not a question. It's a glaze. That's just that's a dick suck, okay? Half of the people that are in that room are there specifically so that they can be like, Mr. President, you are so sexy and hot today. I love you. Why do you think the Democrats have a crisis of ugly? Why do you think the Democrats are so weak and feeble, Mr. President? Why don't they actually demand that there's a national holiday to celebrate you, Mr. President? Very good question. Thank you. Fantastic.
And the problem is with many of these things, and in this case it's going to be pretty quick, but oftentimes you'll do something medically because of the process, and it won't be seen for 2 or 3 years. That happened also with, I could say 4 different things, but just if you talk about insulin, so it was 200, 300, 500, and you couldn't get it, and I got it down to 35. And I said, I hope I win the next election because otherwise whoever wins is going to take credit for it. Well, what happened is we did win the election. We did great. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way from a practical standpoint. And Biden, when I saw him get up and take credit for the $35 and even less insulin, that was 1,000% lower than what it was just previous. Boy, I tell you, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So I did the best I could to let him know we did it, because we want to be given credit. But we are the ones that got insulin down to that number. And you're right. They tried to take credit for it. They had nothing to do. In fact, they didn't even know what happened. All of a sudden, the insulin price kicked in at $35. And they asked Biden about it. He had no idea what the hell they were talking about. But after they explained, and they didn't really explain to him because he was not.
By the way, once again, and I told you so a moment, but even the government forcibly reducing the prices of one singular medication for Medicare recipients is such a banger piece of policy that both of these administrations have played football on who's responsible for doing it. Please, I'm begging people to understand that this is perhaps the greatest example of a person that is the greatest example of the success of socialized medicine. Please look at how much both Biden and Donald Trump have tried to take credit back and forth for lowering one fucking price. The price of insulin. Like, wake the fuck up, guys. There is no better indication of how fucking successful a bold agenda in the direction of socialized medicine would look like, how successful that would look like, how popular that would be for every single American. This is it. It blows my mind that people still act as though this is not the case. Oh my God.